The National Electrical Code, or NEC, mandates that contactors must be installed within an approved enclosure. This requirement is primarily driven by safety concerns, specifically the potential for contactors to generate sparks and heat during operation. Without proper enclosure, these sparks and heat could pose a significant fire hazard by igniting nearby combustible materials. An approved enclosure, as defined by the NEC, is specifically designed and constructed to both prevent the spread of fire and provide adequate protection to the contactor from physical damage and environmental factors. These enclosures are typically manufactured from durable, non-combustible materials such as metal, ensuring containment of any potential arcing or thermal events within the contactor. The dimensions of the enclosure are also crucial. They must be appropriately sized to accommodate the contactor and any associated wiring while maintaining sufficient clearance for heat dissipation and safe operation. The NEC provides detailed guidelines and standards for enclosure construction, materials, and testing to ensure they meet the required safety and performance criteria. These standards outline the specific tests enclosures must pass, including fire resistance tests, impact resistance tests, and environmental protection tests. Furthermore, the NEC addresses the proper methods for mounting and securing the contactor within the enclosure, as well as the correct wiring practices for connecting the contactor to the electrical system. These wiring practices include using appropriately sized conductors, proper termination techniques, and adequate strain relief to prevent damage to the wiring or the contactor terminals. It's essential to consult the manufacturer's instructions and the NEC for specific requirements related to the contactor being installed. The instructions will provide detailed guidance on the proper enclosure type, mounting methods, and wiring practices to ensure compliance with safety standards. Installing a contactor in an unapproved enclosure, such as the standard junction box, is a violation if the NEC imposes a significant safety risk. Junction boxes are generally not designed to contain the heat and sparks that can be produced by a contactor, and they may not provide adequate protection against physical damage or environmental factors. In instances where an electrical inspector identifies a non-compliant installation, they are obligated to require that the contactor be moved to an approved enclosure. This is not merely a matter of adhering to regulations, but is a crucial step in ensuring the safety of the electrical system and preventing potential fires or other hazards. Approved enclosures can be readily purchased from local electrical supply houses or online retailers. It is crucial to select an enclosure that is specifically listed and labeled for use with contactors and that meets the applicable NEC standards. The enclosure should also be appropriately sized for the contactor and the specific application. When selecting an enclosure, consider the environmental conditions in which the contactor will be operating. For example, if the contactor will be exposed to moisture, dust, or corrosive substances, an enclosure with a suitable environmental rating, such as National Electrical Manufacturers Association, or NEMA, 4 or 4X should be selected. These enclosures are designed to provide a higher level of protection against these elements. Once the approved enclosure has been obtained, the contactor must be installed according to the manufacturer's instructions. This includes properly mounting the contactor within the enclosure, connecting the wiring in accordance with the NEC and the manufacturer's instructions, and ensuring that all connections are secure. It is also essential to ground the enclosure properly to provide a path for fault current in the event of a short circuit. Neglecting this crucial step can create a dangerous situation. To summarize, the NEC mandates the use of approved enclosures for contactor installations to prevent fire hazards and protect the equipment. Compliance with these regulations is paramount for electrical safety. Firstly, consult the National Electrical Code to identify the specific requirements for contactor installations in your jurisdiction. Secondly, choose an approved enclosure that is appropriately sized for the contactor and meets the relevant NEMA or other environmental ratings. Thirdly, install the contactor within the enclosure according to the manufacturer's instructions and the NEC. Fourthly, ensure that all wiring connections are secure and that the enclosure is properly grounded. Fifthly, have the installation inspected by a qualified electrical inspector to verify compliance with the NEC. Remember that electrical work can be dangerous, and it is always best to consult with a qualified electrician if you are not comfortable performing the work yourself. The NEC serves as a comprehensive guide for electrical installations, and its requirements are designed to protect people and property from electrical hazards. Familiarizing yourself with the NEC and following its guidelines is essential for ensuring the safety and reliability of your electrical system. Furthermore, understanding the reasons behind these requirements can help you make informed decisions about your electrical installations and avoid potential problems. By adhering to the NEC and using approved enclosures for contactor installations, you can significantly reduce the risk of fire and other electrical hazards. Additionally, using appropriately rated enclosures ensures the longevity and reliability of your electrical equipment, minimizing downtime and maintenance costs. The integrity of the enclosure is essential for maintaining a safe electrical installation. Damaged or improperly installed enclosures can compromise the protection they provide and increase the risk of electrical hazards. Regularly inspect enclosures for signs of damage, such as cracks, dents, or corrosion, and repair or replace them as necessary. Also, ensure that all enclosure covers and access panels are properly secured to maintain the enclosure's environmental rating and prevent unauthorized access to electrical components. Proper wiring practices within the enclosure are also crucial for electrical safety. Use appropriately sized conductors for the application and ensure that all connections are tight and secure. Avoid overloading circuits, as this can cause the conductors to overheat and potentially start a fire. When running wires through the enclosure, use proper strain relief to prevent damage to the conductors or terminals. By following these best practices, you can ensure that your electrical installations are safe, reliable, and compliant with the NEC. The NEC also addresses the use of different types of wiring methods within enclosures. For example, the NEC specifies the types of raceways, such as conduit or cable trays, that can be used to route conductors within an enclosure. The NEC also specifies the minimum bending radius for conductors within enclosures to prevent damage to the insulation. Adhering to these requirements is essential for maintaining the integrity of the wiring system and preventing potential electrical hazards. In addition to the physical construction and installation of enclosures, the NEC also addresses the labeling and marking requirements for enclosures. Enclosures must be clearly labeled with information such as the manufacturer's name, the enclosure type, and the environmental rating. This information helps ensure that the enclosure is used in the correct application and that it is properly maintained. The NEC also requires that enclosures be marked with the appropriate warning labels to alert personnel to potential electrical hazards. These warning labels should be clearly visible and easily understood. Regularly inspect the labels on enclosures to ensure that they are still legible and that they accurately reflect the enclosure's properties and capabilities. The use of approved enclosures for contactor installations is just one example of the many safety requirements outlined in the NEC. The NEC covers a wide range of electrical topics, including wiring methods, grounding, overcurrent protection, and equipment installation. Familiarizing yourself with the NEC is essential for anyone who works with electrical systems, whether you are a licensed electrician or a homeowner doing your own electrical work. Remember that electrical work can be dangerous, and it is always best to consult with a qualified electrician if you are not comfortable performing the work yourself. The NEC is updated every 3 years to reflect the latest technological advancements and safety standards. Staying up to date with the latest edition of the NEC is crucial for ensuring that your electrical installations are safe and compliant. You can purchase copies of the NEC from various sources, including the National Fire Protection Association, or NFPA, and online retailers. You can also find information about the NEC on the NFPA website. In addition to the NEC, many local jurisdictions have their own electrical codes that may be more stringent than the NEC. It is important to check with your local building department to determine the specific electrical codes that apply in your area. Compliance with both the NEC and local electrical codes is essential for ensuring the safety and legality of your electrical installations. The inspection process is a critical part of ensuring that electrical installations are safe and compliant with the NEC and local electrical codes. Electrical inspectors are trained to identify potential hazards and to verify that electrical work has been performed correctly. Before starting any electrical work, it is important to obtain the necessary permits from your local building department. The permit process ensures that the work will be inspected by a qualified electrical inspector. During the inspection, the inspector will examine the electrical installation to ensure that it meets all applicable codes and standards. If the inspector finds any deficiencies, they will issue a correction notice that must be addressed before the installation can be approved. The inspection process helps to protect people and property from electrical hazards and to ensure that electrical installations are safe and reliable. Remember, using an appropriately sized and approved enclosure for a 10-pole contactor is not just about meeting code, it's about ensuring safety and preventing potential hazards. Don't compromise on safety when it comes to electrical installations. It's always better to err on the side of caution and ensure that all work is performed in accordance with the NEC and local electrical codes. If you have any questions or concerns about electrical safety, consult with a qualified electrician. They can provide expert advice and guidance on all aspects of electrical installations. Electrical safety is a shared responsibility. By working together to ensure that electrical installations are safe and compliant, we can create a safer environment for everyone. Finally, always remember to disconnect the power before working on any electrical equipment. This is the most important safety precaution you can take to prevent electrical shock. If you are not comfortable disconnecting the power yourself, call a qualified electrician. Electricity is a powerful force, and it should always be treated with respect. By following these safety guidelines, you can help to prevent electrical accidents and ensure the safety of yourself and others. When dealing with contactors, it's also important to consider the ambient temperature in which they will be operating. Contactors are typically rated for a specific temperature range, and exceeding this range can lead to premature failure or even a fire. If the contactor will be operating in a hot environment, it may be necessary to use a larger enclosure to provide better ventilation and heat dissipation. In some cases, it may also be necessary to use a contactor with a higher temperature rating. The manufacturer's specifications for the contactor will provide information on the acceptable operating temperature range. Regularly inspect contactors for signs of overheating, such as discoloration or melting of the insulation. If you notice any signs of overheating, take immediate action to correct the problem. This may involve reducing the load on the contactor, improving ventilation, or replacing the contactor with a larger unit. Overheating can significantly reduce the lifespan of a contactor and can also create a fire hazard. In addition to temperature, humidity can also affect the performance of contactors. High humidity can lead to corrosion of the contactor's contacts and other internal components. This corrosion can increase the contact resistance, which can lead to overheating and premature failure. If the contactor will be operating in a humid environment, it may be necessary to use a contactor with a special coating or enclosure to protect it from moisture. Regularly inspect contactors for signs of corrosion and take action to correct the problem. This may involve cleaning the contacts with a suitable cleaner or replacing the contactor with a more corrosion-resistant unit. Another important consideration when installing contactors is the altitude at which they will be operating. At higher altitudes, the air is thinner, which can reduce the cooling efficiency of the contactor. This can lead to overheating and premature failure. If the contactor will be operating at a high altitude, it may be necessary to use a larger enclosure to provide additional ventilation. The manufacturer's specifications for the contactor will provide information on the acceptable operating altitude range. When selecting a contactor, it is also important to consider the voltage and current ratings of the contactor. The contactor must be rated for the voltage and current that it will be switching. Using a contactor that is not rated for the application can lead to premature failure or even a fire. The contactor's voltage and current ratings are typically marked on the contactor's nameplate. Always verify that the contactor's ratings are appropriate for the application before installing it. In addition to the voltage and current ratings, it is also important to consider the interrupting capacity of the contactor. The interrupting capacity is the maximum current that the contactor can safely interrupt in the event of a short circuit. If the contactor's interrupting capacity is not sufficient for the application, it can be damaged or destroyed in the event of a short circuit. The contactor's interrupting capacity is typically marked in the contactor's nameplate. Always verify that the contactor's interrupting capacity is sufficient for the application before installing it. Finally, it is important to properly maintain contactors to ensure their long-term reliability. Regularly inspect contactors for signs of wear or damage and take action to correct any problems. This may involve cleaning the contacts, tightening connections, or replacing worn parts. Proper maintenance can significantly extend the lifespan of a contactor and can also help to prevent electrical hazards. When working with electrical equipment, it is always important to follow safe work practices. Always disconnect the power before working on any electrical equipment. Wear appropriate personal protective equipment, such as gloves and safety glasses. Never work alone on electrical equipment. Have a qualified electrician inspect your work before energizing the circuit. By following these safe work practices, you can help to prevent electrical accidents and ensure the safety of yourself and others. Remember that electricity is a powerful force, and it should always be treated with respect. If you are not comfortable working with electrical equipment, call a qualified electrician. They can provide expert advice and guidance on all aspects of electrical installations. Electrical safety is a shared responsibility. By working together to ensure that electrical installations are safe and compliant, we can create a safer environment for everyone.